Ever run a big sale, maybe Black Friday? You're pushing ads on Instagram, Facebook, Google, sending out emails. And yeah, the sales come in, which is great, but then you're left scratching your head thinking, okay, what actually worked? Which specific ad, which email finally tipped the scale? You see the money, but the how is fuzzy. If this sounds like your store, well, you're definitely not alone. It seems like most Shopify merchants are wading through this kind of confusion, trying to figure out which marketing efforts are really hitting home. So today we're going to dive deep into that exact challenge. Welcome to the deep dive. In this specific exploration, we're calling it Shock Strategy. And just before we get started untangling all this, a quick word about our sponsor. This deep dive, Shop Strategy, is powered by Growth Suite. Growth Suite helps you to run really smart discount campaigns on your store. You can even test it for free right on your Shopify store.
Yeah, our goal today is basically to demystify this whole attribution modeling thing for Shopify stores. We want to give you a clearer roadmap, help you understand that customer journey, which honestly is super complex these days. Because let's face it, the path a customer takes isn't just A to B anymore. It's more like a maze, right? They might see you on Instagram, then Google you, maybe abandon the cart.
And then weeks later, boom, a Facebook retargeting ad brings them back and they finally buy.
Exactly. And without understanding that whole path, without good attribution, merchants are kind of, well, flying blind, making decisions in the dark. You could easily end up pouring your budget into channels that seem like winners, maybe because they get that final click, but they aren't actually bringing in new customers or driving real growth.
While the channels that do the heavy lifting early on, like building awareness, get ignored.
Precisely. And those ignored touch points might be absolutely crucial. So this isn't just theory. It's really fundamental for investing your marketing budget wisely.
Right, that confusion, that flying blind feeling, it's probably costing merchants thousands, maybe more, because they just don't have that clear picture. Your example really nails why figuring out which channel gets the credit is such a big deal.
And knowing the answer to that question, well, it fundamentally changes how you should invest your next marketing dollar. It's all about making sure every penny works as hard as it possibly can because you actually understand its impact across that whole journey. So to help us make sense of this maze, we use what are called attribution models. You can think of them as different lenses, okay? Each lens tells a slightly different story about how your marketing contributes to a sale.
Different lenses. I like that. So no single lens shows the absolute truth.
Exactly. No single model has all the answers. They each give you a unique and hopefully valuable perspective.
Okay, so where do we start? Are there like beginner lenses, simpler ones?
Yeah, we can definitely start with what we call single touch attribution models. These are the most straightforward. They assign 100% of the credit for a sale to just one single interaction.
Okay, one interaction gets all the glory. Sounds simple, maybe. Too simple.
It can be, yeah. They definitely oversimplify things, but they're a good place to understand the basic concepts.
So what's the most common one? I feel like I hear about last click attribution a lot. Is that the default in places like Shopify Analytics?
It often is, yeah. Last click is probably the most common default precisely because it's simple. It gives all the credit, 100%, to the very last thing a customer clicked on before they made the purchase.
Ah, right. I've heard the analogy.
Yeah.
It's like only thanking the person who scored the winning goal in a match.
That's a perfect analogy. You ignore all the passes, all the teamwork, the build-up that made the goal possible.
So for a store, say a customer found me on Instagram, maybe read a blog post later, but then clicked a Google ad just before buying.
In the last click model, Google gets all the credit, 100%. Instagram and the blog, ignored.
I guess that works okay for something impulsive, like a cheap gadget they decide on quickly.
Yeah, for really short sales cycles, low-cost items, it's somewhat useful. But think about higher-priced items. Furniture, electronics, anything requiring research or consideration.
It totally misrepresents what actually influenced the decision.
Massively. It gives you a really skewed view of your marketing's effectiveness for those kinds of products.
Okay, so what's the flip side? Is there a model that looks at the start of the journey?
There is. That's first-click attribution. It does the exact opposite. Gives 100% of the credit to the very first channel that introduced the customer to your brand.
Ah, so this one is all about discovery, finding new customers.
Exactly. It really highlights the importance of that initial touch point, that first impression. It's valuable if you're, say, launching in a new market or heavily focused on building brand awareness. It tells you what's bringing people in the door initially.
But I guess the downside is obvious too.
Absolutely. It completely ignores everything that happens after that first click. All the emails, the retargeting ads, the content that actually nurtured them towards the sale. None of that gets any credit.
So if someone finds me on Pinterest first, but only buys weeks later after seeing 5 emails and 2 ads,
Pinterest gets all the credit, which, doesn't feel quite right either, does it?
definitely not, which
Blah.
clearly shows why we need something more nuanced, right?
Okay.
Which brings us to multi-touch attribution.
Exactly. Multi-touch attribution models, these acknowledge that, modern customer journeys are complicated. They involve multiple interactions. So these models try to distribute the credit across several touch points.
Okay, that sounds way more realistic, but I imagine the tracking gets trickier.
It does require more sophisticated tracking for sure, but the insights are generally much richer.
So what's an example of a multi-touch model?
Well, let's start with the linear attribution model. This one's very democratic, you could say. It just splits the credit equally across every single touch point in the recorded journey.
Okay, equal credit for everything. So if there were, say, 5 interactions before the purchase,
Each one gets 20% of the credit, simple division.
that definitely feels fairer than just giving it all to the first or last click. It acknowledges everything played some part.
It does. It's a step towards realism.
But does it assume every touch point had the same level of influence? Because, a quick scroll past a social post probably isn't as impactful as someone spending 10 minutes reading a detailed product comparison on my site, right?
You've hit the nail on the head. That's its main weakness. It treats a fleeting glance the same as an in-depth engagement. It lacks that nuance of influence.
So how do we account for that?
That leads us to models like time decay attribution. This one operates on a kind of what have you done for me lately principle.
Okay, so interactions closer to the sale get more weight.
Precisely. The closer a touch point is to the actual conversion event, the more credit it receives. Credit decays the further back in time the interaction happened.
That makes a lot of intuitive sense, actually, especially for online retail. The Facebook ad someone saw yesterday probably did have more direct impact on their purchase today than, say, an Instagram post they saw 3 weeks ago.
Exactly. It often aligns well with buying behavior, especially for things like flash sales or promotions, where that recent reminder is key.
But what's the downside here? Does it undervalue the early stuff?
It can, yeah. It can significantly undervalue those critical first impressions or the initial awareness-building efforts. Think about products with long consideration cycles, like buying a sofa or a high-end piece of equipment. That first spark of interest might have happened months ago, but it was still vital. Time decay might give it very little credit.
Right, so it might miss the importance of the discovery phase that first click highlights. Okay, what else?
Then there's the position-based attribution model, sometimes called the U-shaped model. This one's a bit of a hybrid.
U-shape, how does that work?
It tries to give special importance to both the first interaction discovery and the last interaction conversion while still acknowledging the middle. Typically, it assigns, say, 40% of the credit to the first touch point,
Okay.
another 40% to the last touch point. And then the remaining 20% is distributed evenly among all the interactions that happened in between.
I see. So it values the start and the finish the most, but doesn't completely ignore the middle. That sounds pretty balanced, actually, especially for those longer sales cycles you mentioned.
It can be very useful, yes. It honors both finding the customer and closing the deal. The potential drawback is if you have a lot of really meaningful interactions happening in that middle phase, they collectively only share that 20%. So individual impacts might still get diluted.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I think you mentioned one earlier that sounds a bit odd. Any click?
Yeah.
Where everyone gets credit.
Ah, yes, any click attribution. It's quite different. It's not really about dividing credit like the others. Instead, it gives 100% credit to every single channel that played any part in the conversion path.
Wait, so the percentages add up to way more than 100%? How is that useful?
You're right. Mathematically, it seems strange for standard ROI, but its purpose isn't traditional calculation. It's about getting a comprehensive view of channel involvement. In Shopify's reports, for example, this view is fantastic for identifying your assistive channels. These are the channels that frequently help out along the journey, but almost never get the last click, so they look invisible in other models.
Ah, okay, so it shows you channels that are quietly helping push sales forward, even if they don't score the final goal.
Exactly. Think content marketing, maybe organic social sometimes. They assist. The big limitation, obviously, is that the totals exceed 100%, so you can't use it for straightforward budget allocation based on ROI. It's best viewed as a supplementary insight layer.
Got it. So many different lenses. With all these options, what does this actually mean for, the average Shopify store owner listening right now? How do we start putting this into action?
That's the crucial question. Understanding the models is one thing, but making it actionable starts with the tracking itself. You absolutely need to lay the groundwork to collect reliable data first.
Right, garbage in, garbage out. So where do we start with tracking? Does Shopify itself offer some tools?
It does. Shopify's own native attribution capabilities have improved quite a bit. Within the marketing report section, you can now often choose between last click, first click, linear, and position-based models for analyzing your campaigns.
Oh, that's useful. Any specific reports in there you'd highlight?
The conversion by first interaction report is particularly valuable. It directly uses that first-click logic to show you how new customers are initially discovering your store, which is great for understanding your acquisition channels.
Okay, good to know. But even before analyzing reports, we need the data in there correctly, right? What's the absolute basic setup?
Absolutely fundamental is defining your conversion goals properly. And think beyond just the final purchase. Yes, revenue is king, but you're missing so much insight if that's all you track.
You mean tracking things earlier in the funnel?
Exactly. Track those micro conversions. Things like email list signups, add to cart clicks, maybe adding items to a wish list, creating an account, even viewing specific key product pages.
And how does tracking those help with attribution?
Because it reveals which channels are good at different stages. Maybe Instagram is amazing for driving initial discovery and email signups, but email marketing is what actually closes the deal later on. Tracking micro-conversions shows you that nuanced performance.
Okay, makes sense. Then we need the actual tracking codes, the snippets of text stuff.
Yep, you need to implement your core tracking codes. Think of them as digital breadcrumbs. Your Google Analytics 4 code is essential. Your Facebook pixels for any other ad platforms you use, TikTok, Pinterest, etc. And also tracking from your email marketing platform like Klaviyo or Omnisend.
And putting those on a Shopify store, is that hard?
Shopify generally makes it pretty straightforward, often through the online store preferences or theme settings. For more complex setups, Google Tag Manager is a popular solution. And just a quick note here, with all the privacy changes happening, looking into server-side tracking is becoming increasingly important for data accuracy.
Okay, codes in place. What else is crucial for reliable tracking?
UTM parameters. Honestly, these are still one of the most robust and reliable ways to track your marketing effectiveness, especially for non-ad platform traffic like email or social links.
So those tags you add to the end of URLs.
Exactly. They're just simple bits of text added to your links that tell your analytics platform exactly where the traffic came from. There are 5 main ones. UTM source, like Google or Facebook, medium CPC, email, campaign, the specific promotion like spring sale, content to differentiate ads like blue button ad, and term, often used for paid search keywords.
And I've heard the key with UTMs is consistency.
Oh, absolutely critical. You need a rock-solid, consistent strategy for naming your UTMs. If one person on your team uses Facebook and another uses FB as the source, your analytics will treat them as 2 different channels.
Total mess. Fragments your data.
Completely. So establish clear naming conventions, use UTM builder tools, especially for big campaigns, and make sure everyone involved understands and sticks to the plan. Consistency is paramount.
Okay, so that covers the foundational tracking. What about digging deeper, more advanced setups?
Well, a big challenge today is cross-device tracking. We all do it, right? Start browsing on our phone, maybe research later on a laptop, then buy on a tablet.
Yeah, happens all the time. How do we connect those dots?
It's tricky. One way is to encourage users to create accounts and log in. If they're logged in, you can often tie their activity together across devices. Offering incentives for account creation helps. Also, Google Analytics 4, GA4, has much better built-in capabilities for probabilistic matching, basically making educated guesses to link anonymous users across devices.
What about stores that have a physical presence too? Or take phone orders? How do you track offline sales back to online marketing?
That's offline conversion tracking. Super important if you have that mix. Strategies include using unique QR codes and online ads that can be scanned in-store, creating campaign-specific discount codes mentioned online but redeemed offline, simple post-purchase surveys asking, "How did you hear about us?" Or ideally,
Using something like Shopify POS.
exactly. A fully integrated point-of-sale system like Shopify POS can create unified customer profiles, linking online browsing and marketing interactions with in-store purchases. That's the gold standard.
Okay, so we're collecting all this data. Now what? Staring at spreadsheets, isn't that helpful?
Right. Data collection without interpretation is pointless. You need to set up proper reporting dashboards. Don't just rely on the default reports. Create custom dashboards, maybe in Shopify Analytics itself or GA4 or a dedicated tool. Build reports specifically to compare acquisition channels side by side using different attribution models. Analyze conversions, track campaign performance, look at how attribution differs for new versus returning customers.
And maybe automate them so you actually look at them regularly.
Definitely. Schedule automated report delivery daily, weekly, whatever makes sense. The key is making insights visible and reviewed consistently.
Now, while Shopify's built-in stuff is getting better, you mentioned external tools. When should stores consider those?
Good question. GA4, Google Analytics 4, is almost a must integrate for most stores now. Its big advantage is its data-driven attribution model.
Data-driven, what does that mean?
It means instead of using a fixed rule like last click or linear, GA4 uses machine learning. It looks at your specific store's data patterns, all the converting and non-converting paths, to figure out the actual contribution of each touch point for your business. It's much more customized.
Wow, okay. That sounds powerful. Any other GA4 benefits?
Yeah, it generally offers better cross-device and cross-platform tracking, much more detailed analysis of conversion paths, some automated insights, and of course, tight integration with Google Ads. Setting it up correctly with Shopify is key, though.
And what about tools beyond GA4? Dedicated platforms.
For larger Shopify operations, maybe those spending, say, over $10,000 a month on ads, dedicated attribution platforms can be really worthwhile. Tools like Attribution, for example.
What do they offer that GA4 doesn't?
They often provide even more granular multi-touch attribution across all channels, not just Google's view, allow for fully custom model building, and crucially, often include features for incrementality testing, which helps measure the true value a channel provides beyond just correlation. And they usually have direct Shopify integrations.
Makes sense for bigger budgets.
Yeah.
And don't forget the marketing platforms themselves, right?
Absolutely. Things like Facebook's Conversions API are vital now. It sends data directly from your server to Facebook, making it more reliable, especially with iOS privacy changes impacting browser-based pixels. Google Ads has similar enhanced conversion tracking. And your email platforms like Klaviyo or Omnisend will have their own reports showing how email specifically contributes to sales.
You know, this focus on needing detailed data, tracking behavior, and getting clear reports.
Yeah.
It really highlights why a tool like Growth Suite fits into this picture.
It really does.
Having comprehensive visitor tracking and those clear one-click reports it provides, the funnel report, product report, purchase insight, cart insights, that's exactly the kind of granular data you need to feed into and refine these attribution strategies we're talking about. It provides the raw material for smarter decisions.
Couldn't agree more. That detailed behavioral data is gold.
Okay, so we've got the data flowing, reports set up. The next big step is actually analyzing it all to make smarter choices, right?
Exactly. This is where the rubber meets the road. Collecting data is just step one.
So how do we start finding those high-value channels?
One of the most insightful things you can do is compare channel performance across different attribution models. Don't just look at last click. For example, you might see that, say, organic social looks pretty weak in your last click report. But switch to a first click view, and suddenly it's a top performer. What does that tell you?
That it's great for discovery, for bringing new people in, even if it doesn't directly close the sale often.
Precisely. Or maybe email looks only okay on first click, but dominates the last click in position-based models. That tells you it's a powerful conversion driver for engaged leads. Comparing models reveals these hidden strengths.
And you mentioned assist conversions earlier.
Yes, pay close attention to those channels that consistently show up in the middle of conversion paths in your multi-touch reports, even if they rarely get first or last click credit. Content marketing is often a prime example here. It assists sales significantly, but is often undervalued by simpler models.
This must also change how we think about customer acquisition cost, or SAC.
Hugely. You should absolutely recalculate your CAC using different attribution models. What's your first click CAC for truly new customer acquisition? What's your multi-touch CAC for a more balanced view? Segment this by product type, maybe customer type.
And crucially, compare that CAC to the customer lifetime value, the CLV, right?
Yes, that's key. Analyze CLV by acquisition channel. You might discover that a channel like, say, content marketing or maybe organic search has a higher attributed CAC initially.
But the customers acquired through that channel stick around longer, buy more often, and end up being far more valuable over their lifetime.
Exactly. That higher initial cost could deliver much better long-term ROI compared to a channel with low CAC but also low CLV. You only see that by connecting attribution to lifetime value.
What about channels working together? Synergies.
Another advanced insight. Look for common patterns in your conversion path reports. Are there combinations of channels that consistently appear together before a purchase?
Like maybe people who see a Facebook ad and also receive an email sequence convert way more often.
Precisely. Identifying those synergies allows you to design truly integrated multi-channel campaigns. If you know that Instagram ads followed by email work well, you build campaigns that intentionally leverage that sequence.
Okay, so we identify strong channels, assisting channels, synergistic channels.
Yeah.
This all leads to optimizing the budget, presumably.
That's the ultimate goal. Moving beyond gut feelings or just last-click data to make really data-driven budget allocation decisions.
How do we do that practically?
Compare the attributed performance of each channel using a model or multiple models you trust against how much you're currently spending on it. Are your top performing channels proportionally funded? Are you overspending on channels that look good on the surface but don't drive deeper value?
And then make adjustments?
Yep. Implement incremental changes, maybe shift 10% of the budget from an underperformer to a proven performer, and then monitor the results closely. It's an ongoing optimization cycle.
This must also help with improving return on ad spend, ROAS.
Absolutely. Proper attribution lets you calculate a truer ROAS, not just the platform-reported ROAS, which is often based on limited views. You can then set different, more realistic ROAS targets for different types of campaigns.
Like maybe a lower ROAS target for top-of-funnel awareness campaigns.
And a much higher ROAS target for bottom-of-funnel retargeting campaigns. Then you optimize the campaigns, the creative, the targeting, the bids based on their attributed performance towards those goals.
And we need to remember seasonality too, right? Things change during big sales.
Definitely. Attribution windows might shorten during intense periods like Black Friday, Cyber Monday. People decide faster. Your models and analysis need to adapt.
And this actually ties back to using discounts strategically too, like with Growth Suite.
It does.
Using intelligent discounts and urgency at the right moment, based on user behavior tracked through tools like Growth Suite, that becomes part of your overall attribution strategy. You're actively influencing that conversion step, hopefully without just giving away margin unnecessarily.
Exactly. It's about pulling the right levers at the right time, informed by data.
Okay, for stores that feel they've got a good handle on the basics, what are some next-level advanced attribution strategies?
Great question. One big one we touched on is digging deeper into customer lifetime value, LTV, attribution.
So really connecting that first purchase attribution data all the way through to repeat purchases.
Precisely. It means meticulously tracking the original acquisition source for each customer, which channel, which campaign brought them in first, and storing that information. Then analyzing repeat purchase rates, average order values over time, and ultimately calculating the average CLV segmented by that original source.
And that's where you find those channels with maybe higher initial CAC, but amazing long-term ROI.
Exactly. It shifts the focus from short-term conversion to long-term value building.
How do you analyze it effectively?
Cohort analysis is perfect for this. You group customers based on when they were acquired, all customers acquired in January, or how they were acquired, e.g. all customers from the spring sale campaign via Google Ads. Then you track the behavior of each cohort over time, their repeat purchase rate, their total spend, their churn rate.
And that reveals which acquisition methods bring in the best long-term customers.
Yes. You'll likely see clear differences in the long-term value generated by different cohorts, revealing which acquisition strategies are truly most profitable over time.
What about tricky areas like content marketing or just general organic social media? They're hard to track directly sometimes.
They definitely present challenges. For content blog posts, guides, etc., it often influences purchases indirectly. Strategies include using specific UTMs on all internal links within your content, setting up custom segments in your analytics for people who viewed key content pages, tracking content downloads or specific content-related goals, and looking closely at assisted conversions. Don't expect content to dominate last click. Look for its influence across the journey.
And organic social. Sometimes traffic just shows up as direct when it really came from a shared social link, right? The dark social problem.
Yeah, dark social is a pain. Solutions aren't perfect, but include creating unique, campaign-specific landing pages for social promotions, using branded URL shorteners that you control, definitely including how did you hear about us in post-purchase surveys, and using social listening tools. Also, look for correlations. Did direct traffic spike right after a major organic social push? It suggests a link.
And looking ahead, the elephant in the room is the cookieless future, right? Privacy changes are shaking things up.
They absolutely are. Relying solely on third-party cookies for tracking is becoming unsustainable. Smart merchants are already adapting.
What does adapting look like?
It means prioritizing privacy-focused approaches. Number one is building your first-party data assets, encourage account creation, build loyalty programs, collect email addresses ethically. That data you own is becoming gold. Also, implementing server-side tracking, as we mentioned, becomes more critical as browser-level tracking gets restricted, using those post-purchase surveys actively, and embracing techniques like incrementality testing to measure causal impact rather than just correlation.
So tracking individual users perfectly gets harder. What replaces it?
We're seeing the rise of predictive and probabilistic methods. Less deterministic, I know exactly who this user is across sessions, and more statistical modeling, machine learning, analyzing aggregate data patterns, and making intelligent inferences. GA4's data-driven model is exactly this kind of approach. It's adapting to a world with less granular tracking per user.
Okay, wow. Lots to digest there. So pulling it all together, what's the main takeaway for a Shopify store owner?
I think the biggest thing is understanding that attribution isn't a one-time setup, it's an ongoing strategy.
And there's no single magic bullet model.
Definitely not. There's no universally correct attribution model. The right approach, or combination of approaches, really depends on your specific business. Your goals, your products, how long it typically takes someone to buy from you, the marketing channels you use. It all matters.
So you recommend using multiple models?
Absolutely. Use them simultaneously for different perspectives. Look at last click to optimize the final conversion steps. Look at first click to understand acquisition. Use a multi-touch model like linear or position-based for a more holistic view of the entire journey. They complement each other.
And it's crucial to keep testing and refining.
Yes. Implement a testing framework. Think of your chosen attribution models as hypotheses. Continuously compare them. Validate the insights you get through controlled experiments if possible, things like lift tests or incrementality testing. And be prepared to adjust your models or your attribution windows as your business evolves or technology changes. Ultimately, the goal here is to develop a more holistic marketing strategy, to stop seeing channels in isolation and start seeing them as complementary parts of a larger customer journey.
Designing campaigns, knowing how channels work together.
Exactly. Designing for synergies.
Right.
Tailoring your content and messaging based on where someone likely is in the funnel, informed by your attribution insights. Scheduling campaigns so they create intentional cross-channel exposure. It's about orchestrating the whole thing based on data, not just assumptions.
Okay, so for someone listening who wants to get started or improve their current setup, what are the practical first steps?
All right, practical steps. First, audit your current tracking. Is it working correctly? Are codes firing? Second, implement consistent UTM parameters across all your non-ad marketing links. Nail that consistency.
Got it. Audit, then UTMs.
Third, set up at least basic multi-touch attribution reporting.
Oh.
Use the features already in Shopify, or ideally, get GA4 configured properly and explore its models. Fourth, establish regular reporting, build those dashboards, and actually look at them.
Make it a habit.
Fifth, start thinking about a testing framework. How will you compare models or test insights? Sixth, begin using the insights, even if imperfect, to refine your budget allocation incrementally. And seventh, stay curious and keep learning. This field evolves fast.
Perfect. That's a clear action plan.
And maybe a final thought here. Look, perfect attribution is basically impossible. The data will never be 100% complete or clean, but significant improvement over guessing or just using last click, that is absolutely achievable. The real competitive advantage for Shopify owners won't come from having flawless, perfect attribution. It'll come from having better attribution than your competitors, making more informed, data-driven decisions that ultimately drive more growth and profitability. That's the edge.
That's a great way to put it. It's about being smarter with the data you have. And that empowerment, that ability to make smarter decisions, is exactly what this deep dive into shop strategy is all about. And as you're building out this more sophisticated attribution strategy, getting smarter about what drives sales, remember how vital optimizing the actual conversion point is.
Yeah.
Getting them over the line. And that's really where our sponsor, Growth Suite, comes in and shines.
Yeah, Growth Suite is designed specifically to help with that conversion piece, supercharging your Shopify sales with really well-optimized discount campaigns. It uses AI, for instance, to predict purchase intent so it can deliver personalized, often time-limited offers right when a visitor is most likely to buy. It uses dynamic, unique discount codes, has this great high-fidelity countdown timer for urgency, and integrates right onto your page.
And it has that post-purchase upsell feature too.
Oh yeah, that's a huge one. Frictionless one-click post-purchase upsell funnels. It's designed to boost your average order value immediately after someone has already committed to buying. Plus, as we mentioned, it provides that comprehensive visitor tracking and those 4 key one-click reports: funnel, product, purchase insight, cart insights, giving you actionable data.
And easy to set up.
Incredibly easy. Usually takes less than 60 seconds to install on a Shopify store.
Fantastic. So if you want to improve those conversion rates as part of your overall strategy, you can test Growth Suite for free on your Shopify store. Just search for Growth Suite, that's GROWTHSUITE, on the Shopify App Store and start transforming your marketing effectiveness today. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into shop strategy.